You want a compact SUV/crossover, yet the German selection is just too ordinary. I have just the car for you, the Volvo XC40. There's no denying the brand strength of, say, having a Mercedes, Audi, BMW badge on the front of your car. But this ain't your grandma's Volvo. The brand has taken huge strides over the last 5-6 years, and one of the latest products of said progress is the XC40 model, which we're sitting in right now. This particular 2021 XC40 is a T5 R-Design. The red Fusion metallic exterior paint of this car only drives the point home further. This car is different. It stands out from the pack. And that's something that I love about it. Whether it's the hook for your bags, the trash can for your trash, this car is different. Even the little tennis ball felt material here on the door liner gives you some sort of Swedish sense of peculiarity. Now, since we're focusing on the interior a bit, let's take a quick break and do a tall boy test. If you guys want to go down in the comment section and guess how many tall boys this car fits, I will give you guys a hint. It has a good amount of cubbies and storage, and it surprised me. So go ahead and comment down below how many tall boys you think this car can fit. Without further ado, here's the tall boy test.
The XC40 starts life at $33,700 but costs a meaty 43 grand aspect in this T5 R-Design flavor. The T5 drives all four wheels via an 8-speed automatic and is powered by a 2-liter turbocharged inline-4 which produces 248 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. The XC40 features digital gauges, nicely designed wheels, large side view mirrors and good visibility, and an amply sized trunk. While performance isn't this crossover's strong suit, it does boast impressive safety ratings and even Swedish flags on the seats. Now, back to the review.
So jumping back into the car, it's the design of the XC40 that really helps it stand out for me. The front is sharp and aggressive with great body lines going all the way across the sides of the car. There is a little bit of a weird design element near where the C-pillar connects to the rear windshield and the roof, but I'll let it slide, and it kind of works well with this particular color scheme. And with this particular R-Design package, that little weird element can blend away a bit, but on the more base momentum cars, sometimes it stands out a bit more to me. The interior stands out by a mile compared to the Q3 I just jumped out of yesterday. Whether it's the fit and finish, whether it's the use of materials, it's mostly just the design. This car is a statement, and this car is not ashamed or embarrassed of being a bit different. I like the weird design elements and the perfect seamless transitions through the entire, the cabin is designed very elegantly, and the car makes you feel as though you're in a very high quality product. One of the only areas in the interior where I feel as though they used a bit of a budget material is here around the airbag. It's a bit of a cheap and shiny plastic, and it kind of stands out in a bad way alongside all the higher quality use of materials, or at least more pleasant to look at materials. So this is as good of a time as ever to mention two of my biggest gripes with this car, and they both happen here in the interior. One is the shifter. Now, it's beautifully appointed, and its action and general use is fine, except it has this weird finicky thing where if you're, say, in drive and you want to go to reverse, in most cars, say BMW and Audi, you would hold down a button and push all the way forward and you're in reverse. You would pull all the way back, you're in drive. Very easy for 3-point turns or quick maneuvers, or even just basic use of backing out of a parking spot, yada yada. Unfortunately, in this car, if you're in reverse, you need to pull back once and then a second time to go into drive. And if you're in drive and you want to go to reverse, you got to push once in neutral, then once into reverse. I mean, you can get used to it. It's just a bit frustrating when you're constantly pushing forward twice, pulling back twice. Every time you want to make said gear change, every time you want to switch from drive to reverse, reverse to drive, pull twice, push twice. I think they could have figured out a way to have neutral be a position you don't have to constantly find yourself in, and it caught me by surprise. Now, the second thing I have an issue with also has to do with reverse, which is the rear view camera. Now, this car does have a good amount of sensors and whatnot, but the rear view camera is a very weird perspective. It's super wide and short, and it doesn't give you that vertical view angle that I would like to really see things that are higher up and further back. You know, not my favorite, and it really stood out to me as something that could be quite a bit better. Otherwise, all the other tech in this car is incredibly easy to use and well done. Everything is clean and simple, and the entire cabin is actually very intuitive. I never have to think about where something is. I just know where it is. And this is iPad integration in a car, or iPad-esque integration in a car done right. There's the right amount of screens, there's the right amount of buttons, and the things that deserve hard buttons and switches have hard buttons and switches. For instance, there's this physical home button below the screen, and anytime, no matter how deep you are into a menu, you press this home button and you're home, just like on an iPad or an iPhone. You have hard switches for changing a track. You have a hard switch for pausing or muting audio or music or podcasts. You have a volume knob. So the things that you want to have physical control over and not have to think about while you're driving are there. The infotainment itself, extremely easy to use, and the cabin feels like the future in the right way, instead of trying to be something that it's not, to make people feel like, oh, buy my car for these gimmicks. It's done right. I really enjoy it. Now, this wouldn't be a review if I didn't mention the driving dynamics of this car. And I'll mention that the seating position is pretty nice, and I think most of these crossovers are pretty good at giving you a low enough position to kind of feel more like a hatchback than some sort of crazy lifted SUV. But in this particular car, you get quite sporty seats, being that it's an R-Design, and they hug you nice around turns, as I'm now demonstrating. And on top of that, this steering wheel, I gotta mention, is just the perfect diameter. It feels like only Porsche and Volvo know how to make a small enough steering wheel, and it's chunky enough to feel like a BMW steering wheel, which is something that I'm also a sucker for. So very nicely appointed and sized steering wheel. Now the car, this is a T5, of course, which makes it the more powerful vehicle, and it's all-wheel drive too. I think both the T4 and the T5 are adequate. Neither of them are particularly sporty vehicles, as you'd imagine, but they're very poised, and this car feels as though it's very sure of itself. So you don't feel this uncomfortable, unsure sensation even going slow around a turn the way I felt, for instance, in the Q3 I drove. This just knows what it's doing, and it's good at what it knows what it is, and it's good at doing what it's meant to do. On that note, of course, Volvo is not a performance car manufacturer, at least not yet. I know Polestar is maybe tapping into that a bit. These cars are known for their safety, and you feel that. These seats, they're well equipped to avoid whiplash. They feel supportive. You know, there's airbags all around you. The car has safety features. It has blind spot detection. It has front collision warning. And I will mention that this, depending on your driving or how you drive, if you drive a little bit more spirited, some of these little gadgets will get in the way at times. You know, I'll find myself making a bit of an aggressive lane change, and suddenly the car's pulling me back into a lane, or thinking that I'm going to be going towards a car that's parked on the side of the street and then slowing down and giving me a warning. It can be a bit frustrating, but the nice thing is you can turn off the things you don't like, and if you're a more calm and sensible driver, you definitely will probably enjoy having those safety features. So yeah, while Volvo isn't exactly or necessarily a driving enthusiast's brand, at least not in the sense of pure performance or driving bliss, this happens to be a car that keeps safety as a top priority and makes it a very sensible choice for someone who wants a both stylish, safe, and practical vehicle. And in that sense, it makes complete sense as a replacement for a compact sedan, so long as performance and sportiness isn't your number one priority. For me to have to jump out of this, I'd have to be looking at about a $10,000 more expensive BMW X3, and otherwise, there's nothing I would take over this in this particular class or segment. It's a fantastic car, and it makes me happy every single time I get into it, if not for the basic and simple driving dynamics, more so for the stylish design and function. If you guys enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. And as always, this is Rio. Peace.